Hello, 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 and welcome back to Holding Space subscription. If you are joining me on Substack or Enya, everyone needs you always if you're coming from Spotify or if you're coming from YouTube. And I am Melinda Zappone. I am a therapist. I'm a creator of the Toolbox Approach and the Phases of Healing, and I am excited because we are really getting close to launching You Are Not Broken University. I have an announcement to visit You Are Not Broken University for your first course. I'm launching it May 3rd, but you can look around. I always want to be transparent. I always want to be collaborative with all of you and learn from everybody about what makes sense to me to structure your healing journey. Really takes all of you participating with me and giving me the feedback. So I'm so grateful to be here today. We're talking about intuition, fear, and gut instinct. Learn the difference, shift your foundation, lead your life. Intuition is warm, fear is cold, and gut instinct is familiar tension. And all of this is information for life, but not knowledge itself. Learning is up to you. And, once again, that's what I'm all about. This You Are Not Broken main site, which I'm leaving you the link. It's really to enter the phases of healing with the toolbox approach, not because I own healing, but because I've just learned from my own journey and from all of you that structure matters, because then you will want to stick to it, and then you will create a toolbox for life and a mindset for life that is healing oriented. So we can have links in the show notes and in Substack to view the module home base, view the joining cost, because I want that to be transparent. I want you to see that monthly. It is very, very affordable. It's less than one therapy session. And I'm just going to dig right in here and do a little bit of a recap on how brokenness is an invitation to building a living toolbox. Before we begin this week's work, since we're getting so close, I want to pause and name something important. Holding space has never been about consuming content. It's been about building something over time, a structure that can hold your inner work and support a healing journey that unfolds in phases. This space is designed as scaffolding, not a set of answers, but a framework that helps you create your own toolbox. As you deepen your understanding of the phases of healing within the toolbox approach, something subtle but powerful begins to happen. You start to recognize that this structure mirrors life itself. Healing eventually becomes less about fixing isolated wounds and more about how you move through the world. Everything that lives requires repair continuously until it's eventually recycled into a new life cycle. From this lens, brokenness is not pathology or failure, it's an invitation to become more fully yourself. The work we do here is about repairing the traumas that have speckled your life, whether they fall on a widely accepted list of traumatic events or exist as quieter, more subjective wounds that still shape how you relate, protect, and survive. The toolbox exists for both. It helps you notice what has been carrying weight, and it offers practical, compassionate ways to repair what has been overextended, fragmented, or burdened by fear. I often use the image of a chair. A chair with four legs can technically still function, even if one leg is unstable. We can brace it temporarily. We can tolerate the wobble, but we feel it. It's not truly functional in our lives. Over time, we adjust ourselves to accommodate the instability rather than repairing the chair. We do the same with ourselves. Healing asks us to slow down and notice what is wobbling. It requires special focus, understanding, and the careful unburdening of fear so that what has been holding us up can be repaired and reintegrated, restored not just to survival, but to purpose. This is how life begins to lead us again, rather than survival running the show. In many ways, the work inside Holding Space is a form of higher education, one that is equally accessible and deeply human. There are no grades here, no benchmarks to perform for. Your greatest achievement is in granting yourself the privilege to attend. To learn brokenness, to learn healing, to learn repair and repatterning. Through the toolbox approach, this learning becomes less about self-improvement and more about self-leadership. It shows how to lead something far greater than you may have imagined before, your own life. This framework was shaped not only through clinical training, but through my own lived passage through trauma, dysfunction, profound loss, and the long work of neurological and nervous system healing, where no single modality was sufficient and where an integrated, phased approach made healing possible. If you're here, you're not behind. You're not broken beyond repair. You're learning how to repair with intention, and that is a skill you will carry for life. So let's keep going. Inside the pause, there lies the truth. The fundamental truth behind the value of mental health therapy is just that no matter what topic you end up addressing, no matter if the therapist is seasoned and specialized, and no matter how long or frequently you attend, its value lies in creating a pause in your life for reflection. In any getting to the truth space, whether it be therapy, journaling, a trial and jury of your peers, or confession, there lies the opportunity to stop and review the opposites that coexist. If you tell all the admirable stories, write about only the good things, review all the upstanding behaviors of your citizenship, and confess minor infractions, there will be no truth. And it will not be a pause at all, but an extension of the performance with the masks you wear in life. Therapy, journaling, being investigated and tried in some way, or confession may facilitate a pause, but a pause in its truest sense will only bring you into a true healing and enriching place if you learn to cultivate it with the felt sense of the truth. Ultimately, this truth is in its simplest form. It in its simplest form is your breath. That is why in the courses and the entire concept of the approach to healing I write about, I maintain an emphasis on it all being integrative of the brain, nervous system, the mind, and the body, and promote it as a bottom-up approach. This means that the body has to stop to feel itself before analysis takes over. It has to cultivate a pause for a different kind of knowing to take over. Experience this right now. You can place a left hand on your forehead to access the right brain process that aids receptivity to non-analytical experience, and breathe in only through your nostrils. Feel the air going in only there at that unique entry point. On the exhale, see if you can lean your forehead into your hand and feel the back of your neck, the muscles in the back of your neck release. The left hand takes on the weight of your head. Be here. Take back the moment. Reclaim time. Arrive without agenda. The agendaless mind is more truthful. It says, I am here. I feel sensation without labels, and this is the change. A manager in your mind will tell you to figure out just something else. Quiet this with your breath and return to I am here. This truth really is the truth, but we go away from it. We go there. There is something we always have to get, but ask yourself, have you? Have you ever gotten there? When are you smiling the most? Yep, you guessed it. When you are present with your child, with the sun, with a taste or a smell, the pause is the truth. When you practice the truth of the pause more often, you'll come to know that there are only three core perceptions. Intuition, always warm, all over knowing. Fear, always a sympathetic nervous system reaction or activation. Gut instinct, a trauma and stress response based on your experience, fight, flight, freeze, fawn, or flop. These are automatic responses from the autonomic nervous system. We are pulled out of the pause by these three things. Many of us have stayed out of the pause for decades or do it prescriptively under duress because I need to breathe. This becomes the foundation of our lives, moving without pauses. When we do this, there is no self-leadership. Quite literally, we need to shift our foundation back to the pause in order to be aware of the concept of healing. I promote this here at Holding Space Subscription. The healing journey is not just a phase, it includes phases. However, ultimately, it becomes your life pattern and you repattern doing it into being. You can transcend the analysis of your problems, although this will always have its value and is a human need, the need to explore logic and ordered story. But often we are using half our brain, underutilizing our neurosomatic intelligence, if not denying it altogether. When we suffer, no matter your traumas, it is in the suffering inputs from experience that we don't know how to cultivate pauses for before a very layered mind takes over. The mind is not our intelligence for leading life. Our mind, brain, nervous system, and body work together to lead. Like any good organization, transparency between the factions creates teamwork and partnership, such that one leader, the mind, is not needed and not the ingredient for success. So let's talk about intuition, fear, and gut instinct and learn the difference. When we slow down to cultivate a pause, something important becomes possible: discernment. Fear is fast, loud, and urgent. It pulls from unhealed memories, survival learning, and pattern recognition shaped by past threat. It lives primarily in the nervous system's protective circuits and often demands immediate action or avoidance. Fear feels compelling but not necessarily true. It's reactive, narrowing, and reinforces analysis-based um, problem seeking that keeps us looping rather than living. Gut instinct, by contrast, is subtler and embodied. It arises from interoceptive intelligence, the body's accumulated learning, yet it still can carry distortion if the nervous system is chronically dysregulated. Trauma can teach the gut to interpret neutrality as danger, urgency as safety, or intensity as connection. This is why many people mistake fear for intuition. Without a regulated nervous system, the signal can be accurate about sensation, but inaccurate about meaning. Intuition emerges when mind, body, brain, and nervous system are integrated and sufficiently settled. It's not loud or panicked. It's spacious, calm, and often surprisingly simple. Intuition does not argue for itself. It doesn't rush. It feels like clarity without force, direction without demand. And as we build neurosomatic intelligence and become more self-led, we learn to trust this quieter signal, not by bypassing fear, but by understanding it, so we can tell when protection is speaking and when truth is finally allowed through. Intuition is warm knowing, and many of us mistake this. We say, my intuition knew it was too good to be true. I should have listened to myself, when in fact that was fear. Or we say, my intuition sensed he was like my brother when he was hiding his addictions, when that is gut-oriented somatic trauma, distress memory. So, as an ending note, as always, Holding Space subscription truly wants to hold you here, not as a follower or as a subscriber, but as a democratized and awake person gaining access to their healing journey. Please keep track of what is launching on You Are Not Broken University main site. I include the link here for Enter the Phases of Healing with the Toolbox Approach. You'll find the introductory book on the narrative healing phase there and on Amazon and on the author's website. Just trying to make this accessible for everybody. A 5-star rating really helps others find this self-help resource, so please consider making one if it feels honest. Here inside this subscription, I would love to be able to encourage your pause. Often the most important signal isn't what we feel, but what we never pause long enough to feel. An absence of pauses is information. When we learn to notice it, we gain access to choice, clarity, and self-leadership. To notice an absence of pause, ask yourself, am I always hurrying? Do I feel internally scattered? Am I avoiding stillness? And here are body-centered questions that gently orient people to somatic awareness rather than cognition or analysis. They're designed to help you notice the absence of pause through sensation, rhythm, and nervous system cues, not judgment. Body-centered pause questions: where do I feel movement, tightness, or urgency in my body right now? Is my breath shallow, held, or flowing, and do I feel choice around it? What part of my body isn't being felt or included in this moment? Nervous system oriented questions. Does my body feel like it's bracing, reaching, or settling? Am I acting from tension or from contact with the ground beneath me? If I slowed by 10%, what would my body want to do differently? And lastly, discernment building questions. This is fear versus intuition. Does this sensation feel urgent or clear? Is my body asking me to protect, prove, or simply pause? If I didn't have to decide right now, what would shift in my body? Now there's nothing left to do but heal on. Share this, subscribe, and dive in. We're holding space. You are here. We are all here. Thanks so much, everyone.